Oh, here we...
Full of a duke.
Duke in my biscuit.
Full of a duke.
Well, let's catch him off guard. Hi, welcome to Video Namaste. Richie summon a wee duke in a biscuit. Welcome to episode 3, Reel 3. Thanks for joining us.
It's 40 bits in his mouth.
You look like you've been getting off with a bumhole. A roasting hot bumhole.
Wanted to have a wee biscuit before we started.
It's 40 bits like Francis Ford Coppola during Apocalypse Now.
This is our Hearts of Darkness.
Sharks of darkness.
I would like to think that Coppola did actually say, I'm 40 bits like a fucking, like a Duke's digestive. And his wife's just like, yeah, son, yeah. We've moved on to tea because I'm feeling empty. I'm running on pure water.
I like to wait
I'm running on new age
until my tea's cold enough just to tan, and I wanna.
Yeah, tea tanner.
I'm a tea tanner.
I quite like that. Yeah, I'm sort of somewhere in the middle. It's like
I burn my mouth.
It's like a wee bit in my mouth. I'm like,
you've got a wee bit of chocolate.
Shit.
Like that. If I do that, guy, you wanna aerate it. You wanna get it on. Oh, 9,000 tablespoons.
Is he talking about tea?
No, he's talking about ice cream.
He's in those seen tea tasters as a job.
Fuck off.
Have you not seen them?
No.
Totally, and they all have Smith's t-shirts.
But
How much is that uni course?
Well, it's a fucking like.
Your dad hates shit.
It's a production line. They have to taste tea, but they don't swallow it. They have to put it in the mouth, swish, spit it out. Imagine the big
swish
buckets.
roasting hot tea about your.
They must have a.
Tied to a chair.
Maybe it's made further up the production line. By the time it gets.
It's a bit hot.
It's cool enough to
It's
tan.
just lukewarm.
You can always tell the tea tasters by their wrecked gums.
So I was talking to someone recently. I was like, "Why don't they just drink the tea?" And I was like, "Can you imagine?"
Tote bag full of Bonjela.
It's like Tetley's can't afford that many toilet breaks in a day.
Just give a Tetley's branded
like-
catheter.
Shaped like a tea bag.
I'm a tea tester. So there's a long day of tea testing ahead. It's a poly bag.
So Finlay, what we got today? This is your film.
Yeah, so let's introduce the subject first. We're talking about the lesser known films of well-known directors.
I'm sorry, I jumped ahead there. I apologise profusely. I'm
So
sorry.
you jumped into
He just
the
wanted-
shallow end
he just
before there was
wanted
any
to-
water in it.
Progress from all
You broke
the.
your bucking neck and I've got to explain myself to your mother.
Your middle.
You just wanted to progress from the fucking tea chat. I was like, "Is this a tea podcast? Is this? What is this?"
Welcome to Chai Chai Baby.
Try me a river.
Lapsang Souchong for Wales.
Chai me a river. That's the best.
I was telling Claire about that. I was like, I need to have a tea show called Try Me a River. My chai.
Assam.
Welcome to films about tea on Video Namaste. Video Namaste. So yeah, we're talking about lesser known films of well-known directors, and today Finley's choice
Is The Guardian by William Friedkin. Billy Friedkin, Wild Billy Frills.
Willie Foreskin.
A film starring Jenny Seagrove, Pamela Brull, and Brad Hall. Need I say more? Oh, it's the Guardian by William Friedkin, whether he likes it or not.
William Friedkin, who's more known for doing The French Connection and The Exorcist, is obviously his big baby. He also done Cruising starring Al Pacino. He done Blue Chips starring Shaquille O'Neal and Nick Nolte. Don't laugh, it's really fucking good. But
I know.
I wasn't expecting
I know it's
that.
not,
Never be
it's
drinking
weird.
tea when someone reads the cast, a cast that includes Shaquille O'Neal.
Nick Nolte, Papa Nick, my dad. And then obviously he'd later on he done Killer Joe with Matthew McConaughey and that. But I think The Guardian is Friedkin's most lesser known one, just due to how buried it is. The fact that the TV cuts are Alan Smithy production, so he obviously kind of disowned it. There's a lot of story kind of behind The Guardian, but I thought I'd choose this because I really love The Guardian. I don't know about you guys, how you feel about it, but it really gets to me in terms of mythology and kind of home invasion and just how it looks. There's like a lot I can discuss about it, but aye.
So what is The Guardian about?
The Guardian's basically about, it's based off a novel. I can't remember the person who wrote it. It's kind of based off a novel, and it's partly based off of, Danny might have the novel, the guy's name.
I think it's very loosely based on
It's very loosely based on the novel, and it's very loosely based on an experience that...
The Nanny by Dan Greenberg.
Oh yeah, that's
The Nanny by Dan Greenberg. And it's very loosely based on an experience that William Friedkin had with a nanny as well. So it's kind of linked into that. The Guardian's basically about a couple hire a nanny to look after their son. They're kind of maybe they're a kind of well-to-do couple. A wee bit middle classy, but they've got obviously their careers, so they need a live-in nanny to help them raise their newborn child. But also the nanny ends up being a tree nymph.
A tree nymph.
A tree nymph that it's based on Greek mythology. I've got the name here because I couldn't ever mind it. It's a hemadryad.
Right.
It's a hemadryad, and it's basically like a tree elemental that. It's like the tree's Dracula and she's Renfield. It's like it's like they need each other to live.
Aye.
Obviously the tree can't date, so she has to go out and bring the souls to
they've
the
got
tree
like a
to
weird
keep it
kind of
alive.
symbiosis as well, because the tree heals her if ever she gets an injury. It's like the wee creepy branches get a wee rub. That's you better.
So fucking good. But so it's just basically about that, and it's about this couple realising that the nannies know who she is, and that there's a tree quite near them that's obviously not a regular tree. It's like a proper mythological elemental.
It's like it's based on like a lot of Druid culture, right? I remember the start
Druid
it
and
mentions
Greek as well.
Yeah.
A lot of Greek culture as well. So
because it starts to say something about how they used to sacrifice people to trees, because Druids deified trees and stuff like that.
It's funny, like it's like just that explanation there. It's completely nuts.
It's fucking
and it's
mental. Like
to go back to the beginning. It's funny. This is sort of vaguely linked to what we were just talking about. But to go back to the beginning part, like it was originally supposed to be slated for Sam Raimi.
Yes,
wasn't it?
Really?
Which kind of like it kind of suits. Obviously, when Sam Raimi was doing it, it was supposedly going to be a wee bit more tongue in cheek.
Aye.
And then I don't know how he ended up off of it.
He ended up pieing it to the Darkman.
Ah, that's it. That was it.
Thank fuck. Imagine a world with Darkman in it. I'm fucking serious.
I know. Imagine a world that didn't allow Darkman 3. Imagine that world.
Darkman 3 die, Darkman die.
Yes, it is. Aye, so this is the one that Sam Raimi was supposed to direct. But as I always say to everybody, The Guardian is basically William Friedkin's rough and tough, weird version of Evil Dead. It's his version of Evil Dead. I think if Sam Raimi done it would be too similar to Evil Dead,
Yeah,
especially when it gets to the end. It's very it's very Evil Dead-y.
Well, I kind of feel like the last section with the chainsaw and the tree and all the blood and
the flannel
the
shirt,
blue shirt.
yeah,
I think it must. It's obviously
very Evil Dead-y, but yeah. So it's about that, but there's a lot going on for it. There's a lot of like troubled backstory as well. Like Friedkin was like a gun for hire at the time, and this was his sort of unplanned return to horror. This is his first horror film since The Exorcist, so I think everybody was fucking well excited. But
was it not like was there not like from in terms of studio involvement, were they not really pushed gunning for that?
Aye, there was a lot of studio involvement, but the worst person and the worst involvement there was William Friedkin.
Yeah,
like the amount of rewrites that he was doing and like.
He's his worst enemy, like in every fucking French Connection.
Well, is it not? What's the name of the guy who wrote the screenplay?
Stephen Volk.
Yeah. So what I was reading about last night is that it was going through all the different versions. Like at one point, it was a straight up just a story about a nanny that kidnapped kids, and there was no trees or anything like that. And then, that was what they were like. Okay, no, we need to push it more towards the Exorcist type stuff,
like supernaturally. And
it was going through all the different versions that he'd worked on, and eventually he had to leave the project because he had a nervous breakdown.
Basically, like he'd he'd mentioned something to William Friedkin about this mythological tree thing, and as soon as William Friedkin heard it, he was like, "That's a film. We're making it all about this big tree." And he was like, "What? No, I mean, like, no, like
He's
this
so
is just
fucking
an
mental, I
idea."
love him.
And he's like, "No, we're doing it." And then he started rewriting it behind the guy's back, like approving his own scripts without the guy. And then I think there's a story the writer got a script rewrite, and he was like, "Alright, I would change this and change that," and they were like, "Oh no, we're just showing you that's happening anyway. We're just doing you a kindness and showing you." And that's, I think, when, like, he says that he came back from doing The Guardian and he had to have like therapy to get him back into writing stuff because he'd had such a fucking horrendous time doing it. But
that would damage your.
That would fucking kill you, man.
self-worth
Aye, like William Friedkin can do that, man. He just picks up and drops. Like, I love the guy. His films are so robust and meaty, and he just does everything with determination. But it's at a cost, because there's always people that are like, he's an arsehole and like he's waving guns about on set, and like he's like for that Sam Peckinpah school of just tough fuck you directors, and it's like, it's good, and they make really like fucking,
they get results,
films,
but at a cost.
Aye,
like, like that's something that they really do explore in the that Exorcist documentary, the Kermode one, that I didn't really realise.
Is that on the DVD?
Aye.
Is that the BBC or Channel 4 documentary?
Channel 4, I think it was.
Aye.
There's something like, what's it called? I mentioned it earlier. Something like that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Like they talk about like the fact that he lit off guns behind actors. He's like right next to them to get like that jump scare. You know, he get that like. But as I say, is like he gets the results, but at the cost of this person's
stuff him
respect.
telling them to like yank Ellen Bernstein too hard just to get that reaction. It's like,
and she's saying, "I'm sore. This is hurting." And
she needed,
Friedkin's
like,
factor against the car.
Was it like surgery she needed? Because it was like it's when she's getting, I think she's either getting pulled into or getting hit by
her lower back
a set of drawers, and it fucked her back, and she needed like actual proper like thing on her back, like what do you call it, physiotherapy and all that stuff. Like, she was fucked with it. So he's an arsehole, but he's like, his films are always like, I always really really enjoy them, and I think like you've got to take the fact that he's an arsehole away from it. He's a great storyteller. Like,
it's that thing, it's like if you actually focus on half the people who make the stuff that you love, they're probably dicks.
Man. Absolutely.
It's like important, I think, not to like really focus on that kind of thing.
But there's like, in terms of The Guardian, like it's got dips, but I get too much enjoyment from it to care. Like the way The Guardian is lit and shot is absolutely like incredible.
See,
like I really like it. Really does it for me.
I was gonna say, you guys are horror guys. Like, it's like you've grown up with that, and I've horror for me is I've come to it a lot later. So like when I watched, I mean, I don't know if it's a more common thing for 90s, or if it's a budgetary thing or whatever, but the whole thing, it's kind of got this TV.
That's what I was going to say.
It's almost sort of like,
it looks like a Jackie Collins drama. Like,
I keep expecting Shannon Tweed to turn up, and there's lots of that. What do you call it when they shine the light through the blinds?
I was going to say it's very
like
it's very lit through blinds,
and the ADR in that as well. It's totally got that like,
and also the
it's lit through smoke quite a lot as well, and stuff like that. It's got a lot of
like, I love that. I love that. Like,
sumptuous.
You need to. There's an adjustment. Like, you need to open yourself up to it. You need to, like, because when I sat down to watch it, I was like, oh fuck me, what
what garbage has he got me
what
into?
the fuck has he got me watching? But it's because, and it's like, and the cast they're not. It's not
amazing.
like, it's not the strongest performances either.
No,
but yeah, you make a lot of concessions for these things, and then you sort of accept what it is, and then you take it on, and then you start to enjoy it. But like, honestly, man, like, when I started watching it, I was just like, oh Jesus, how are we going to do this?
it's
that's
like,
good though. Like, a wee bit.
I can totally, like, it's the sort of thing I can totally see why. So if you sat down and watch it, I can understand why someone would be like,
this is fucking
come on now. But like, and then it really again, it does that thing where, well, it starts off like the opening scene is the sort of the really weird scene with the the nanny kidnapping the baby and taking her to the tree, and then it's like, and the concept itself is so fucking weird as well, which is great. Like it's something that was the thing that drew me in the first few minutes, like the shot of the baby's face in the tree and stuff.
Aye.
And then
the bit at the start where she's sacrificing it as well, that looks amazing. It's like really heavily moonlit. She's got a cloak on. It's like there's like a reflection of a huge puddle. She's on her knees. It's really
it's shot really well too. It's like
looking.
The way that the camera moves through the family home and stuff like that, and it's dead like lurking, and like that. The only kind of, it wasn't a typical Friedkin film. It wasn't shot like that typically, but it did have that Friedkin. The Friedkin trademark, like the jump cut immediately after the scare. So it's like you get the wee jump, and then like a bird flies away, and then it's the next scene, and it feels unresolved, and you continue. You're feeling your sense of unease, and like that's something that it does perfectly. Like, and that was really nice to see. And even if it's through that, albeit filter that you might have needed to adjust to, it's like I think like in horror it's quite common because like budgetary reasons and stuff, and like a lot of the like a film like this, totally. I need like a film that deals with such like fantastical elements and stuff like that. It's not going to get that big budget, you know. Like that's why I was surprised when The Hallows came out that it like, you know, it looked as good as it did. I think this took a lot of cues from Guardian, by the way, like you know, in terms of like relationship with nature and fighting nature, and like especially the architect, like the villain in Nature, the guy that ruins nature. He's essentially like hunted down by wolves and everything like that. I think that's a really nice touch, and it's like a lot of it looks kind of superficially like kind of just like an average horror, but there's some stuff going on there. It's, you know, there's subtext.
All the like watching it this time, now that I've seen it, like I think I've seen it like this is like the third time I've seen it. I don't know if you have seen Tenebrae, but this is like Friedkin must have watched Dario Argento's Tenebrae, because the architecture of the buildings, the
light through the glass,
but like just the way the buildings look, and when the architect's getting chased off the coyotes, which is like the tree's familiars and protectors, when he's getting chased through that's kind of like the chase scene with the Doberman and Tenebrae, and it looks like so much like it that I'm sure he's just taken that totally hint for it. But there's a lot to it, and when it starts kicking into the whole tree elemental, tree nymph, like reliance on being alive, and the tree needs to absorb souls to stay alive. Yeah, you realise that it's obviously quite an insidious concept, but the tree's no evil. The tree's no like doing it so it can take over the world and blah blah blah. Like it's the tree's needing to survive, and so is she, and it kind of shows you that in a way when she's obviously, because it's quite a tender moment when she's hurt but she's getting caressed by the tree, and it's like healing her back, but then it also absorbs her until she's needed again. It's like, this isn't like, it's nature, but it's no evil, and this is just what it needs to do to survive. Which
although in saying that, this is definitely Friedkin's most brutal film.
The violence in this film is holy shit. It's like rough, man.
That rape gang, like we were talking about, like the fucking boy that gets the fucking skewer fuel,
like and that
scream as well.
The chest.
There's basically a scene where she's sitting out in a field
with a bear.
3 bikers or 3 guys just appear.
It's a shame they're bastards because their style's cracking.
It's true.
Oh, pretty. What the hell is that? Look out!
When she knows that she's just running to her protector, which is a tree, and the guys are like, we're gonna fucking get you in that, and when they get down to that tree and they find her, like they just get fucking maimed. Like one guy gets his head blown up by a tree branch, the other guy falls down and gets a pneumatic like big huge wooden spike through his chest,
and his entire body fucking jolts up as well.
It's not one that gets like mashed in a big tree mouth.
Aye. He's like arms. Is it like his arms or legs come off?
I think so. It's a dismemberment
it wraps
anyway,
him, and it's like it's squeezing him, and like the blood's pissing out, and then it takes it into its mouth and just crushes him.
I think that's the first moment it gets really brutal, and you're like, oh.
Aye, that's the violence is
it's
pretty
a pretty
hardcore.
angry film. Like I think like Friedkin's obviously got anger issues, and this like comes through in it. Like obviously Exorcist is like he's got a lot of anger towards like practicing religion and how it's and all that. Like that's what The Exorcist is about, and like even Bug. Like a lot of his films, like Jade as well, like really fucking angry in this one, but I like that. I like because it's infectious, and afterwards you're like, I want to fucking batter somebody. I'm going to punch a bucket and oak.
There's meat to it, but it plays a lot on like America's fears at the time too. Like I think at that time America's like sort of lifetime movie, like big stuff at that time was like Baby and Cradle Snatching and like Home Invader, so I think it plays a wee bit on that, like you can't even trust the nanny. And when you think about it, the nanny as a concept is quite fucking weird. Like you don't really know this person, you're knowing them based on like references, but even then she kind of comes out of left field, and she's no their first choice. Their first choice dies like that.
Another kind of brutal.
Another kind of brutal
I forgot about that.
There you go.
It's a Syrian too. But even then, like she's lying on a big like succulus as well. It's like nature doesn't nature doesn't want this. Nature wants.
It's weird seeing a film like this where a baby's getting snatched, and it's like the protagonist it's like the dad. It's a paternal perspective. It's usually like the mother's response that you see in these films. Obviously, like with the exception of The Omen, but like it's not that common. It's the dad. It's like gives my baby back.
But even the first time you see the nanny like with the baby, she's naked in the bath, and she's totally like. She's no bothered. She's just like the dad walks in and he's like,
and neither were we. Am I right, guys?
he's just like, oh fuck it. And she's like, I didn't worry about it. She's in the bath with the baby because she's
not sexual in any way.
Well, it's not sexual, but she's that used to doing this that she probably doesn't realise how weird that would be for other people, because she's like, I'm used to snatching babies. So it's like I'm used to doing this, and I like that's kind of where her guard starts to go down, and I think that's maybe when the dad's a wee bit like. This is
something funny about that English
pub. Something right. I don't think I'm meant to be seeing the nanny in the buff like the first day she's here.
I think that's like because at one point did they say she's European English or something like that? Like I think that's maybe like she's English. They probably do that, didn't they?
It's very European.
I was going to say as well.
It's just for breakfast.
That just came across. I was going to say that just came across to me as like American. General sort of American ignorance of what shape the world is.
The story behind like William Friedkin's experience with the nanny was, I can't remember what film he was shooting. It was possibly Rampage, and him and his wife had a baby at the time. So and they obviously had a nanny. And when he was shooting Rampage and she was doing whatever, the baby was with the nanny. And it turns out that while the nanny had the baby, her and her pal went out and got two guys and brought them back to the house. And just left the baby in the room while the nanny and the lassie were obviously having sex with the two guys, and the two guys completely like ripped them off, like robbed them, like hundreds of stuff in that. And Friedkin came back and just went absolutely off his nut, and he was
imagine Friedkin getting bailing at you, Christ.
But then he was like, and no long after that, this script came to me as like a kind of, can you jump on board with this really fast because Sam Raimi's left, and he was like, it kind of worked perfectly, even though it wasn't a dream project.
Okay. It explains why it's so angry as well.
Because he was
violent. He's obviously wanting to do that to the fucking guys.
It was like you just don't know. He's like, you thought we knew her, and then she does that. She leaves her wing. She was like, they guys could have done anything to your child, So he's obviously had that experience as well, and I can imagine if you've got a child when you're watching this, you would feel very.
I can imagine, man.
But. I know there's a lot of nice stuff. It reminded me a wee bit of White of the Eye as well.
Are you laughing?
Sorry, I'm just.
That's a baby theft.
William Friedkin just raging in the house. Carry on soup. Just fucking blasts a hole in it.
Can't have a rotten hang in my own damn hole.
It's like I'm dishing up soup to his wife. Honey, this tastes like lead.
This tastes like bangs.
Just blasting holes in
It
toasters.
tastes like
Fuck this. Fuck this
I'm
fucking
going to my
toast.
car.
I'm gonna make a film about a toaster.
His wife just opens the cupboard, a big room full of toasters. I'll get another one. It's
No.
fine.
he loves shooting toasters. I'm glad he's shooting the toasters, mind you. Didn't get me wrong. But no, it reminded me a wee bit of White of the Eye as well, because it is quite visual and it's quite stark, and it, like, Friedkin says that he wanted to make it a grim fairy tale. He wanted to make it like, well, that's
Well, it
why
starts
Hansel
with
and
the Hansel
Gretel
and
and stuff
Gretel,
like that. So he says, he was like, when you think in the interview, he does like a really da hang, and he's like, have you read grim fairy tales? Like, as an adult, they're scary. It's like, hi man, we know, we get it. Like, they're scary. He's like, but see when you're a Wayne, they're fine. But see when you're an adult, you're like, I shouldn't be reading my Wayne's this. It's like, welcome to the club, William. So
You've joined the party.
so like, he wanted to make his own grim fairy tale, which is why when there is a few jarring things in it, I think it can maybe get away with it, because the consistency in grim fairy tales is very dreamlike and very loose sometimes, and especially when it's related to like Druid mythology and Greek mythology. I think you can just use things as bit parts or incidental things to let things happen, which is why when that first nanny dies, she doesn't die just to die, she dies for a reason, so that they can hire the English nanny who's the tree elemental. So it feels like everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. So what happened with basically the last part of what happens with, what's the deal with the ending? Like, what's the story there?
I think the studio was not really happy with how fucking brutal the ending is. Like, it's bloody. Like when Phil's like chainsawing the tree and like he's having that last big fight with the tree.
Why didn't they fill the tree with like pneumatics and blood, fake blood, so that when he cuts into the tree,
it's like
it just
fucking
gushes out?
But
And
The practical effects in it are
the blood
fucking
is
lovely.
like, it's really, really bloody, and I think the studio was like, this is just too hardcore. So when they done the TV cut, they cut out that last part of him fighting the tree. So once they did the first bit, when the nanny's like flying at night, sort of thing, when they do all that stuff, which also looks amazing.
I love that shot. It's just that, again, that's another surprise when he's running away from her and she's just flying through the trees and you're like, shit!
And she's just like that, but it doesn't look bad. You're like,
it looks really
that
good.
was cool. So that bit, but after that, when they go to the police station,
Aye,
the film basically just ends after that.
right.
When it's like, oh, we're fine, the Wayne's fine, he's only listening to us. I think that's when it cut in the telemovie, and Friedkin was livid, and that's why he wanted an Alan Smithy credit on it. But when it was the theatrical cut, he got his big bloody gory ending, and that's why the real Friedkin cut is the director's cut with a big tree bit at the end.
Right.
That's the thing I don't understand. It's just like,
And it fucking bombed as well.
It's like, you know, the film moves at a bit of a slow pace sometimes. It's quite patient and it's very, and then all of a sudden you've got this absolutely mental climax. I can't imagine someone looking at it going,
That's the freaking thing though. It's like
Take
that
that out.
contrast of like calm and mayhem.
yeah.
It's
No,
every-
but what I mean is
every
I can't
film.
imagine anyone watching it and going, don't know about that. It's like you've already got like nudity. Well, the whole issue of nudity versus violence in American censorship is a whole other thing. But what I mean is, it's like we've already had the guys being eaten by the tree and everything. It's not.
I know, but like even that the bit at the end where the nanny shows up in the house and she's like all kind of half wooden. You're like, oh, you fucker.
And that was creepy. That reveal, actually, that
But
was.
she's just like,
Aye,
she's just there. You're like, oh, you bastard.
it was really because it wasn't anything like, you know, it wasn't like a jump scare.
She
or
doesn't
anything
like
like
burst
that.
out a cupboard like,
Oh, you bastard!
here for your wins. She just fucking phases in. You're like, oh.
Aye, that's the creepiest thing is the pace here and that. She's just like, I'm going to fucking get you.
But like, and then but it's like two battles happening at once. Like he's battling the tree, and while he's lobbing bits of the tree off, bits of her skin or wooden skin's like flaking off, and she's like sitting screaming. But even they wee fish wire pulls look safe, like you're ripping a big fuck off scab off, and she's like screaming and that. So the wife's like fighting the nanny, and the dad's fighting the tree. So it's like a double finish, you know?
Yeah.
See, I think like that's maybe like, I think that's what was pretty divisive for a lot of folk, like because obviously it didn't do well at all, and it's one that I didn't, to be honest with you, pay that much attention to until Second Sight released the DVD, and I was like, I thought that was fucking terrible. I thought the whole deal with it not really getting that much popularity is because it doesn't really deserve it, but it does. I think it really does, because it's not just a good Friedkin film, but it's a good film too. And like I think
like
too many folk didn't
lighting.
deal with the level of fantasy in it. Like, because fantasy's fine with like the context hobbits and big fucking boring journeys, but like, you know, as soon as you try and put it into a grounded horror,
it's
like,
really mad.
But I love that. Like, I love just that idea that she's like familiar with the tree. And she's like, it's Renfield, and she's got to feed it souls so it stays alive and all that. But it's not even
like,
souls, it's actual absorption of flesh as well.
The blood of the child is pure now. In death, it gives you life. The cycle is complete.
There's just something about like how nocturnal it is. Especially like in the end, the kind of end scenes and that start scene, like the bookend and bits of the film, like they've got like a really nocturnal kind of like transience to them, where it's like,
because we were going to watch it during the day, and you were like,
it's like really mystical. You want total lights off for it. Cause
it also feels like you should be watching it on videotape.
You need to get that murky blackness,
like the audio quality of it, like I mean even the audio texture of the film itself feels like it should be on videotape. If that makes sense.
I know, really. But all that like sort of, it'd be nice to see all that kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, but all like the kind of like all that moonlit absorption and stuff like that, but through like a kind of a tape fuzz. That's romantic stuff. That's me romanticising horrors.
Just rub Vaseline on your telly screen and some buds in your ear.
I know, like stuff like that does me in, and that's why I would champion things like The Guardian, and that's why films like that need to be championed, because they're rough production. They're not the best film in the world, but there's so much in there just to fucking.
That's something that like enjoy. I think no enough people get past is that it doesn't look professional. I can't watch it. Fuck off. Who cares what it, like, if it tells a good story?
It's just I think I would say in a casual viewer's defence, it's a subconscious thing. It's like you have you get it into your head what is good, and sometimes it's really difficult to articulate. But I think. At the same time, I think if you sat down and watched it, maybe if you found yourself watching it and suddenly you got to the end of it, you'd probably be even that sort of person might be like,
it's like, it's not for everybody, but I'm sure that everybody could take something away from it, even if you're a gorehound.
Fundamentally, it's that the storytelling's good. And like, well, that's it. Storytelling's good. That's like why. What else do you need to sell?
Like, the actors are now the best. Like, even the nanny, she's not really that great. Like, the mum and the dad are not really that great. The architect are pals with
Miguel Ferrer though.
He's fine. He's good, but it's like nobody's really that. The performances are not like stand out, but the rest of the film manages just to work it.
I think though, like when you talk about a cult film, like you apply the term cult film to a lot of things, but like at the furthest edge of cult film, you've got something like that.
Aye. It's like, it's one that you feel like you need to defend, even though if you really watch it, you don't need to defend it. It's just one of the ones that people didn't give you a chance, but that's why you're here, to get a wee chance.
There's no point in us rating films at the end of this, because we fucking choose them because we like them.
Not just like them, we fucking labour it.
We've not been forced upon us by some insidious, faceless master. These are our choices, and we've got to fucking live by them. But now here is a keyword roundup.
Oh, I can't wait for the keyword roundup.
Keyword roundup for The Guardian.
Where we take the keywords from IMDb for this film and give you the top 10, is that right?
That's the fella. Alright, number 1, druid. Number 2, bare-chested male. Number 3, sex dream.
The best Def Leppard album.
Number 4, severed leg. Number 5, frog. Number 6, reckless driving.
I'd love to see that paired up with vampire driving a car.
Number 7, incubator. Number 8, female rear nudity.
Ooh.
Female rear nudity.
I might check out that keyword later.
And as a wee extra one, right next to it was female frontal nudity. 9, animate tree. Not animated tree, animate tree.
Like an instruction.
Like an instruction.
You need to.
And number 10, face. Everybody's got faces, so imagine that applies to every single fucking film on IMDb. Face.
Maybe it's set in the A-Team universe. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I hate it when a joke comes together.
Thanks for saving that one, man.
For The Guardian.
So, excuse me. So let's move on to the feeding of the back.
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 For the final part of this extravaganza.
Oh,
That's me rubbing my legs.
It's thigh rubbing.
Give it to me.
He's actually attached to me. Wheels and cogs.
He's got a rolling pin. He's just pancaking his balls. I want them to clap.
Hendo, our good American friend from America.
For your big use full address. Alright, Hendo.
Pat me down. Who is a director who isn't considered one of the top directors who you think should be considered one of the top directors? I said Irvin Kershner just as a wee giggle, but Irvin Kershner would be a good one. But apart from that, Abel Ferrara.
Aye.
Like his remake of Body Snatchers is
in.
pretty good. He does the Addiction, which is maybe one of the best vampire films just after Near Dark. It's like
Bad
really
Lieutenant
jazzy.
as well. The
Wait,
original.
did you do the?
Aye. Driller Killer.
Did you say you did the Body Snatchers remake?
Aye,
The
kind
Donald
of
Sutherland
spaghetti
one?
No.
Aye, the 90s one, the 90s spaghetti one on an army base. I done Addiction, which is like
Did you say Kings of New York?
King of New York as well.
King of New York,
The
sorry,
Funeral as well. He done Go-Go Tales, which is amazing. He's really underrated, and his films are very New York and very cool. Like as I says, The Addiction. Like it's all about vampire mythology. It's shot in black and white, and the soundtrack's jazz. It's like, and the main vampire is Christopher Walken and Lily Tomlin.
Oh,
It's so good.
I'm going to go
highly
with-
recommend it.
I'm going to go with Ty West. Ty
Good
West,
shit, man.
like
Solid shit.
he's a fucking incredible director. He knows the full language of cinema. And he's every single one of his films is even like his found footage film, and his first film as well. It's incredible. Like he just knows exactly what you need to see, and like George Miller, it's like whatever he's focusing the attention on, you're just totally drawn into. Like every single one of his films is incredibly consistent in terms of like where like you're taken. So like he knows precisely each beat where it needs to be, and he hits every beat. He moves the camera really well, but he's not one of these directors who I think, like, there's a lot of directors who like are just flashy for the sake of it. It's just like, let's get this camera shot in here, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't do that. He uses it really tastefully, so that when, like, you know, there's a nice shot placed in, you're like, you notice it, and not in a jarring way. It's just like, that's a lovely choice. And he's made consistently brilliant films too. Brilliant films.
Brilliant.
Like, there's not been a bad one. And like even his first one, like that's Larry Fessenden produced one, like is great, and you can see this great like filmmaker kind of planting wee ideas, and although it was a film that he made like, and it was like weeks he had to come up with it, because he was like, right, I'll give you the money, but it needs to be done by then. Like, and what he came out with at the end product is great. And there was a film that he done called Trigger Man as well, where he's just got tons of I'm just going through all his films here. But like, he's just he had one idea, he went out in the middle of fucking nowhere and he ended up making one of the tensest films I've ever seen in my life.
I didn't like Trigger Man.
Did you not?
I couldn't get on board with the sound design. Is just so bad. I couldn't sit. I couldn't sit.
What are you just talking about?
I couldn't sit for it.
You've got no integrity. It's about the worst thing I could say about a person.
I tried. You can see his progression through every film that he makes.
Yeah, exactly, and he's still going as well, and I can't wait for his Western, man.
So,
how about you?
What's your reach?
I would say that I've fallen on from the last bunch of episodes we did. Again, like I'm really upset that it's been so long since Attack the Block and Joe Cornish hasn't, made more films, or his career. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't say that his career hasn't taken off. He's been going to fucking Hollywood and writing Ant-Man and Tintin and all that. So it's, but I mean, at the same time, I want him to.
So thanks, Hendo. That's a good question, man.
Did mean?
Really appreciate
That's
it.
really good question. Very good. Sorry, I wasn't taking the piss out of you, man. I'm sorry. I'm just.
Hey, Hendo, that was a really good question, kid. I'm doing it in your language.
Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed us talking about The Guardian, and I hope you've enjoyed us talking about these lesser known films.
And we hope we've turned you onto them as well.
Aye, give them a go.
If you go back to them.
I'm sorry if you.
The release of The Guardian, you can get it second sight DVD. I think I got it for about £6, and it's got good special features on it, and it's the director's cut, which is the one that you want.
Is the Shout Factory Blu-ray?
The Shout Factory Blu-ray is region locked, so it's Scream. I think it's Scream Factory.
What is Shout Factory?
Shout Factory and Scream Factory are like the same company.
Same brand.
Scream Factory is obviously the horror faction. Scream Factory done a really nice Blu-ray transfer release of it, but it's America only. So if you stay in America, get that one.
I'd be keen to see the commentary for that, actually.
I would love to hear him talk about it, because Friedkin's a very good storyteller. So thanks for joining us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really
So come find us on the internet and talk to us about films. We might talk back to you.
Nah, we definitely will.
We will.
Me and Danny are on top of the Twitter game.
We're on it. We'll talk to you. Thanks very much, and we'll see you soon.
Bye bye.